short and long. And first off, I want to say why this film is going well. First off, I just want to say, alright. So, today I'm going to talk about why some folks out there might think that. Alright. So, I don't know what to talk about. Oh, yeah, I do. How some folks seem to think they know how to make your films good, but they truly don't. So you'll have these folks who, well, they've been on YouTube for a long time and they're mates, and they'll tell you that you gotta do all this shit just to get a lot of watch time. They'll say, oh, well, first you have to tell a real long telling of what's in your film, and you gotta fill up that script. You gotta fill up that telling box until you can't fill it up anymore. And then you gotta go around and put everything you can think of that was in your film for a tag or whatever you want to call it. And fill that up. And then, oh, well, it's not over yet, because then you gotta go through and you gotta go make one of these follow you boxes, which will be a hit and miss because YouTube will either say the likeness is too big or the likeness is too small. And it's not done yet, because then you gotta go on and make all these playlists of all your films, and you gotta do this and you gotta do that, which I think is dumb. Alright, that's my belief. Do you really think that a lot of folks have a lot of time on their hands to do all that stuff? If they got somewhere they gotta go or something they gotta do. I could see if the folks that do YouTube as a job, as business mates, and they got all the time in the world to do all that shit to their films. But what about the ones that have to work? Or the ones that have to learn? And I get it, a lot of work is still being done at home right now, depending on what kind of job it is. But still, I mean, you have to do all that shit to get a lot of watch time on your films. That's what they'll tell you. And keep in mind, the ones that tell you this have already got it made. They're already been on YouTube for a long time. They got a lot of followers. They got a big following. They're all mates, believe it or not. And if they're not mates, they're working to become mates. So I don't really put any trust into what they say, because there's no truth to it. They would have you believe that's what you gotta do. But keep in mind, someone could do all that. Someone could have all the time in the world, and they could go and do all that, and it might work for them, it might not work for them. See, these folks, they take no answerability. They're not answerable if it doesn't work. It's not like if it doesn't work, you can go to them and write on their channel, on their Fairway or their film and say, well, I did all this and it didn't work. So folks like that, they always say they know how folks can get big, but they don't know. Somehow, some way, out of hard work and other things that, yeah, maybe that's how you have to do it. Maybe you have to have no life and you have to go through and do all that shit to get yourself watched. But then again, maybe you don't. Some folks are lucky and they do something and it catches on right away with some folks, and everything they do after that just happens. But at the end of the day, I don't really think you have to do that. Okay, alright, why do I keep saying alright? You don't have to do any of that. So at the end of the day, you don't gotta do any of that shit. I don't. And they'll probably say, oh, well, that's why. Well, first off, I don't get all the time in the day to do all that shit. And I'm happy with where my followership's at. Is it big? No. But at least it's some kind of followship. And for someone like me, I'm not gonna go and do all that shit on my films thinking, oh, this is how I'm going to get a lot of watch time. Well, you're not going to get a lot of watch time from it. It might work for you, it might not work for you. And it's not going to work for me. First off, tags or whatever you want to call them don't show up. Only what you named the film and what you said about the film shows up. Two, when seeking to make a following box, YouTube always says either the likeness is too big or the likeness is too small. And if you got a lot of films, like a lot of folks on YouTube do, you're gonna be there forever making a playlist out of it all. You know? So it is what it is. And if you go and you make a real long telling of what your film is, then good for you. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to make any of it on likeness. So yeah, and they'll probably say I left out some other things they like to talk about. You know, they like to say, oh, then they'll say you have to send cyber links, or you gotta send links or ways to all your other websites out there too. Don't forget that. You gotta do that shit too. You know. Which at the end of the day may help you, may not help you. So at the end of the day, I don't really put a lot of stock in these folks that say that this is what you have to do to get your films watched and looked at and whatever, you know. Because I know a lot of small YouTubers and a lot of big YouTubers that do this, and it doesn't always work for them. So this whole thing about how, oh, it'll work for you because it worked for me, well, there's no truth to that. You know, maybe it did work for them, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You know, it is what it is. So anyway, that's just my thought on these folks that come on YouTube and they tell you you got to do all this shit if you want to get watch time and watching and looking of your films and whatever. And at the end of the day, it's just shit, because since it's not going to work. I mean, yeah, someone out there will work for, and then someone out there it's not going to work for. So it's going to be a hit and a miss with any of this stuff. That's what it's going to be. You know, it's going to be a hit or a miss. For some, yeah, it'll work. And for others, it will not work. So it is what it is. I'm Jordan Long, and I'll see you later.